What's going on, everybody? Sensei Lewis here again, your sensei, your life coach. That fatherly advice that you wish you had but you never got. All of those in one. Um, Today's subject we're talking about is mental weakness, your worst enemy. And we're going live here on Instagram and on YouTube at the same time. So, whichever platform you prefer, avail yourself of that. All right. Before we begin for my YouTube crowd and the crowd here on Instagram, don't forget to like the video. If you're not a subscriber or follower, make sure you follow and subscribe. And again, as we always say, if you appreciate the lessons that we give, whether it's techniques or just dealing with the mental aspects of combat and self-defense, and you feel you're getting some benefit, go on ahead and support the platform, and hit up the Cash App or the PayPal, and it just helps us to continue to bring these things to you and helps us to expand our platform, and we appreciate your support. All right, so let's get right into the topic. So, as I said, the topic we're talking about is mental weakness and how mental weakness is your worst enemy. All right, how is it your worst enemy? Well, a while back I did a video about called combat mode, right? And in combat mode, we talk about how you want to get into a certain like a certain warrior state of mind, right? Initially, even before combat begins, right? You have to get into this warrior mind state so that way you can carry through in your self-defense. And it's that same mind state whether you're in individual combat for yourself, whether you're a soldier in the military, with a unit, in a battle, on the battlefield, whether it's, you have to get into that combat mode mentality so that way you can carry out your techniques without being distracted by fear or intimidation or any type of things that would distract you from your mission, which is to keep yourself alive and survive that situation, right? So mental weakness is definitely your worst enemy, because if you allow fear to take over your mind and your body, if it's not just fear, if you just have a weak character about yourself, then this allows people to take advantage of you, and you won't stand up for yourself, right? And of course, this will allow them to abuse you. This will allow them to walk all over you. And this is what we see, whether it be on individual scales or in larger scales when it comes to communities of people or nations of people who have been abused, right? We can think of some examples in history where people have been abused, where people have been walked all over, and sometimes those people either they rose up themselves and threw off that person or those people who were abusing them and walking all over them, or their unfortunate mental weakness and fear forced someone else to come and rescue them because they just didn't have the mental capacity to stand up to the abuser, to the threat, etc. Right? So it's the same thing here that applies for you as an individual. That if you are a person of weak mental character, the unfortunate thing is that no matter what you learn, no matter how many skills of self-defense that you're given, unfortunately, it won't do you any good. I have to be honest with you, as your sensei. It won't do you any good. Because this is what controls the body. If this up here is telling you to be fearful, telling you to be mentally weak, it's not instructing you and pushing you to stand up for yourself and fight back, then no matter what you learn, no matter how high ranking you get to, it won't help you, because when the time comes, you won't be able to carry out your duties. You won't be able to execute your technique. You won't be able to not only the technique, but you have to have a fierceness when your life is on the line, when you're being threatened, when you're being abused. You have to have a fierceness. You see, because if you have the right mentality, then you're going to fight harder. you're going to be determined that you're going to try your hardest to come out of that situation on top. And a lot of times that's usually the difference between victory and defeat, right? I want to show you guys a few examples of this. I'm going to show you a few examples of this here on Instagram and on on um, on YouTube as well. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. All right, so here is a video. I'm going to show you two videos. Here's a video on YouTube, right? And basically what you're going to see, as you said, it says Chinese couple locks up Nigerian workers with an S, workers, for 4 months. Now you ask yourself, I asked myself when I saw this morning, how could that happen? How could workers, plural, meaning it's a number of people, how could they allow themselves to be locked up for 4 months by two people? Right? How is that possible? Now there are a number of factors. Now we understand from what I saw of the video that these people were, they're workers, and the lady in the video says something very interesting, that there is no dignity in poverty. There is no dignity in poverty, and she made a good point that a lot of times we hear people say, hey man, as long as you're happy, right? As long as you're happy in your poverty, it's okay and all that. But she made a very good point that the reality, though, is that in poverty there is no dignity, and this is an example of that, because when you are lacking, a lot of times people will allow themselves to be in situations that they normally wouldn't put themselves in or allow themselves to be in if they had the abundance of that which they needed. So in poverty, you're in a state of desperation. So you might, as we see here, not only you will allow people to treat you any kind of way, talk to you any kind of way, make you do things that you normally wouldn't do, because there's no dignity in poverty. You need that paycheck. You need that money. So you will allow your supervisor, your boss, etc., to talk to you any kind of way, to disrespect you. You see? And so I'm connecting this to self-defense because it's the same thing. And you're going to see the other video I'm going to show you is the same thing. That when you have a weak mentality, right, you will allow people to you'll see the video. The other video is really upsetting. So be prepared, everybody. When you see the other video is very upsetting. Okay? But here is this situation here, like I said. Let's take a little bit of a listen to it.
I've covered a lot of it on both on this platform and on my YouTube channel. The gross, breaking the law, locking up workers, and it seems like these people really never learn a lesson. Well, a Chinese couple in Abuja, Nigeria, has been locking 8 of its employees for the past 4 months. Can you imagine that? These employees were not even allowed to step out of the compound where they were working for the past 4 months. When this COVID situation broke out, okay, reports say that it started in China, but I don't know why Africans are really facing the effect of being treated and discriminated based on this. We saw what happened in Zambia, whereby the Chinese locked their workers for the fear that if they go home and come back, they're going to bring the viruses. So they put them in some containers, some bad places to sleep. There's this saying that goes, there's no dignity in poverty, and I believe some of these people are just actually forced to accept the conditions because that is the only source of income, or that's the only way they can put food to the table.
So yeah, so as she's saying here, that's a very good point, right? You wonder how could this happen? How could people allow themselves to be treated in such a manner? Where's their fighting spirit at? Where's that spirit to stand up to such type of treatment? And again, this is what happens when you have a weak mentality. It will allow you to, or allow people to walk all over you, to treat you any kind of way, to talk to you any kind of way. And when these people know that you are weak in mentality because they can see it, they will, unfortunately, you would think, a lot of we hope and wish that people would be kind and just. But unfortunately, there are people in this world who take advantage of that because they know they can, because they understand, they see that you are weak in mentality. So they will walk over you. They will abuse you because they see that you won't stand up to them. That's why on the reverse of that, when they come across a person who sometimes just from their demeanor, you could see from their demeanor that that person is not going to take any crap from you. People know, stay away from that person. Don't mess with that person. Let's pick a weaker target because this person, we can't mess with them, right? We can't mess with them. See? Because your mind will allow your body language and your character to express the way you stand, the way you are standing, to see that, okay, yeah, we're not messing with that person, right? I've had situations like, maybe some of you have had situations like that, where you can remember whether you as a child, a youngster, or even as an adult, where you came to a point with something or someone that was, they kept messing with you, pushing you, right? And then you came to a point where enough is enough. And you finally, in your mind, you made up your mind that you weren't going to take it. You weren't going to put up with it anymore. And you stood up to this person. And the person could tell by your demeanor that you meant business. They could tell by your demeanor that so and so is they mean what they're saying. So I think I better back down. I better leave them alone. And then the person winds up walking away and leaving you alone because they realize that you've come to that point. They could see it in your face. They could see it in your eyes. They could see it in your demeanor that you mean what you're saying. You're not messing around. And so it doesn't even get to a fight or anything like that because they realize they don't want none of that. They could tell they don't want none of what you about to serve up. And so they walk off, right? They walk off and leave you alone, right? Because just your demeanor is showing them that, hey, I mean business or you mean business. Well, it's the same thing in situations like this, where clearly these couples, this Chinese couple or these Chinese businesses that are in Africa, certain parts of Africa, they can tell that unfortunately a lot of the people are of a weak mental mentality. And that's why they feel that they can do that. That's why they feel they can just walk over these people. As the lady said, that's why they felt they can put these people in containers, make them sleep, don't allow them to go home, and you're out, and they're outnumbered. This is not like you're slaves or something, right? These are workers and they're treating them like slaves, and they're allowing themselves to be treated like slaves. They are allowing themselves to be treated like slaves, which is why these people feel that they can do this, right? This is why they feel they can do this. I'll tie that into the situation what's going on here in the United States, where we see the police are abusing people, right? It's been going on for the longest time, but now because we have, camera phones and such, that we're seeing more and more of it, that they feel that they can abuse people. Take ourselves back to the time of the Black Panthers, where the Black Panthers started to, when they got fed up with the abuse of police in the black community, they began to what? Police the police. They would pull up on police officers with their weapons, right? Not fire, not aiming at, but just pulling up, showing that they were armed, and they would police the police. They would watch and supervise what the police were doing to minimize or stop the abuse that was going on. And the way things are going, that we may wind up getting to that place again where the black community starts to say, you know what? We're going to have to start policing the police again, right? But my point is to bring that up is that when that happened, the police, the racist police who were trying to abuse people in the community realized they had to stop, because now there was a group of people who had a show of force and were showing that we're not going to allow this abuse. You're not going to continue to abuse the people in our community, right? And it's the same thing today, where people are standing up and showing that, they're exercising their Second Amendment rights. And some people are upset about that. Why are they upset? They're upset because they realize that you are not their whipping pole anymore. They realize that people in the community are saying, look, enough is enough. You're not going to continue to abuse us, and we sit around submissive and begging you to treat us right. We're going to make you treat us right. Right? And so it's the same thing here with those of the weak mentality, the reverse. And that's why people push people around until you stand up to them and let them see that you mean business. This is why a weak mentality is your worst enemy, because it will allow you to allow people to abuse you, to mistreat you, to walk all over you. Because that's why it's your worst enemy. You understand? So let's take a little bit more a look at this.
It's really so sad. The police have arrested a Chinese couple in Abuja for allegedly locking up their Nigerian employees in their apartment for the past 4 months. 8 domestic workers were rescued by the personnel of the Utako Divisional Police Station.
So look, I make this point. You see why it's the worst enemy? Because it was 8 of them. Not saying that they had to, do anything violent to the couple, but 8 people didn't have the mental power and capacity to say, hey, I'm going home tonight after work. You're not locking me up here for no damn 4 months. I'm going home to my family tonight after work. I'll be back in the morning or whatever, or if you want to fire me or whatever, but you're not going to make me stay here for no damn 4 months locked up in your house just because you're paying me. Sometimes your dignity is worth more than the pay. Sometimes it's better to just walk away with your dignity than to allow people to keep you in a situation where you're being abused and violated. Sometimes you just got to say, you know what, to hell with this job, I'll find another. Because you're losing your dignity, you're being abused. Look at this. Look at the cost that they had. Was it worth being locked up for 4 months than to whatever pay these people were getting paid from this couple? Was it worth that? Was it worth being away from your family, locked up for 4 months? I say no. Right? But again, this is why mental weakness is your worst enemy, because you yourself will allow this to happen to you. You will allow this to yourself. Let me give you another example. Here's, like I said, now this one, everybody, please prepare yourself. This one is going to make you angry. If that one does, this one is really going to make you angry. This one may make you sad, but in an angry, sad kind of way when you see the abuse that happens here. This is a video from South Africa where, as you know, apartheid is over in South Africa. However, there's still that situation where many of the Afrikaners, which are the Dutch and the British people who invaded South Africa, are still in power, right? They're still in power, and although the black South Africans outnumber, right? All right, hold on, Fisk, hold on. Let me finish this first, then we can, if you want to discuss, I'll bring you in. Where they outnumber their former colonizer, you can look, they're still in a mental state of weakness, because even though they are in power, even though Nelson Mandela became president and they've had 4 successive, at least 4 more black presidents, South African black presidents since then, the people still are in a mental state of apartheid. In their mind, they are still, unfortunately, under a mental state of weakness and apartheid, even though their country has been liberated. So you're going to see here another example of why mental weakness is your worst enemy, because again, it makes you yourself a lot, because you could stand up, but if you don't have the mental strength to do it, you will be defeated. You will be defeated because, as they say, you won't have the heart to stand up. the heart to fight back. Take a look at this. Again, prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves. Ready? Watch.
That guy says it's you who told him where to go and steal and what.
Why me?
Yeah, you. And you is the one who cut his hair.
Oh, that's low.
Huh?
Oh, wait a minute. The video's slowing up now. Hold on a second.
Who told him where to go and steal and what.
Why me?
Yeah, you.
It's not me.
And you is the one who cut his hair.
Oh, that's low.
Huh? Julle poese man. Hey, julle kom hier. Wat is dit koes? Man, jy sê serious a poes man.
It's not me.
Serious a poes. Serious a poes.
You must call him serious.
Fuck you. Michael's brother told me it's you who told him.
Ask Master. It's
Huh?
not brother.
Michael's brother told me it's you.
Ask Master.
Huh? Maar, kom my fucking... I said this fucking Billy.
It's not him.
It's you push.
Serious.
All right, let me stop it there. So, as you could see, very, very, very sad, but at the same time, it angers me. You could see the fear in them, right? You could see that they were scared. And the guy smacking them around, I guess he's their employer, he could see it too. And he obviously felt comfortable enough, even though he outnumbers them, or they outnumber him rather, 2-1. But he felt confident enough that he could smack them around, as you saw, and they wouldn't do a damn thing about it. They wouldn't do a damn thing to stop him. So he knew he could get away with it. He had no fear in smacking them around, as you saw, abusing them. And he kept on smacking them, and he enjoyed it. He probably enjoyed it. Right? He enjoyed it. You could tell. That's why he kept doing it. He was basically what we would say in our society today. He was punking them, right? Right? He was punking them basically. He was basically punking them, smacking them around like that, right? Mistreating them like that, because he knew they weren't going to do anything. So he felt very comfortable in smacking them around, because he knew they weren't going to do anything to him. So he had no fear, right? He had no fear in his abusing them. And as you can see, unfortunately, they were fearful. You could read it. You could read their body language that they were scared. Start smacking them, hands up, sir, no, pop, smacking, pushing, beating, abusing, and they took it. This is why your mental weakness is your worst enemy, everyone. This is what you have to understand. This is why when I teach, right, my martial arts, my self-defense to my students, that we incorporate that you have to get the right mentality along with your training. The training by itself is good, but it's not enough. Because as I said, if you don't have the right mentality, if you can't go into combat mode, as we say, if you can't get into that warrior mentality when it calls for it, the techniques, the skill won't help you. You have to get into the right mental frame when it's time to handle business. And this is what we incorporate in our training. We don't just teach you the techniques. The technique, yes, we give you the skill as best we can, but you have to have the right frame of mind. And that's why we do those drills. Like I said, that's why we do what we call the combat mode, where we put pressure on you, where we tell these students to attack in a realistic manner. And you have to respond in a realistic manner. You have to jump into action. You have to go from your normal state of being to that warrior frame of mind. Because if you don't do that, it could cost you. You'll either freeze up when the time comes. You'll freeze up You'll be too intimidated, too fearful to respond, as you see from the last video that I just showed you. And you meet somebody who doesn't give a damn about your life, who doesn't give a damn about you crying, pleading, and begging. They're like sadistic. They enjoy it, as you see the guy in the last video. He enjoyed smacking them around. He enjoyed emasculating them. You could tell that he took pleasure in it. That's why he kept doing it. He didn't just smack them once, whatever. He kept doing it. Because it made him feel big. It made him feel powerful over those two men. To smack them around and abuse them. And they didn't stay. I guarantee you, if they would have stood up to his ass, it would have been a whole different picture. But again, it takes training. Some people have it innately in them. And then others, you have to develop that character. Others, it needs to be developed. This is why when people go into the military has that training. That's why the drill sergeant is yelling at you, drilling, he's yelling, he's getting in your face. And if you ever seen that type of training, sometimes you have grown men, because they're not used to that. There have been cases where grown men stopped crying. Because they're not used to that in your face. He's yelling at you, he's on your case, he's drilling you. There have been cases where grown men have been known to cry. Right? I'm not putting anybody down if that has been the case. I'm just saying, because why is that? That's why they have to build you up to the point where now your character is strengthened, and now the drill sergeant is yelling at your face after a few months, weeks, or whatever, and now it doesn't bother you because you got used to it. Now your character in your mind has been strengthened. This is why when you become a soldier, that's why they have to put you through that hard training, through the sergeant yelling in your face, barking orders at you, telling you to do this and do that, putting you through strenuous training, marching in the heat and the cold, marching miles, putting you through a bunch of stuff that makes you fatigued, and obstacle courses, going through the mud and the dirt and the dust, and having bombs and explosives and everything going around you to strengthen you and build you up, to put you in the frame of mind of the warrior spirit. And so thus the same thing with your martial arts training, and that's what we offer here at Shinobi Science School of Self-Defense. So I'm going to end it there. And again, your mental weakness is your worst enemy. You have to, strengthen your mind, thereby strengthening your character. So that way you can deal with such situations. Right? And it doesn't always have to be the physical thing either. It doesn't always have to be the physical thing. Just some people talking to you certain kind of ways. That just by checking somebody who talks to you a certain kind of way. Like, for example, we see in all these quote unquote Karen videos, right? Where these quote unquote Karens, you've seen them talking to people any kind of way. What makes them feel comfortable to think that they can talk to these people this kind of way? Well, obviously in their mind, there's this mentality where they feel that they are over and above these people. So they feel they can come and question you about why you're in this neighborhood, even though you live in the neighborhood. Or you're going into a building and, what are you doing here? Right? What are you doing here? Show me your key fob. What's your... No, stand up to these people. Stand up to them. And let them know you check them. You put them in their place and let them know, excuse me, I don't have to tell you a damn thing. Now get out of my way. You see that? You firm, and you talk to them like that, and you let them know that you will not tolerate such. That they're not your parents. They're not the police. They're not the security guard. So you do not have the right to be sitting there questioning me about anything. So it doesn't always have to be the physical. Right? Just showing mental strength in even a verbal incident shows mental strength. By just checking somebody, by putting somebody in their place, by letting somebody know, you don't talk to me like that. You don't have the right to talk to me like that. I won't allow you to talk to me like that. And you stand up to them and you check them verbally. So it goes verbal, and it can also translate into the physical. But in any case, it takes mental strength for either one of those to be able to speak to the person and stand up to a person verbally or even physically. Because again, with the mental weakness, that's how people feel they can talk to you any kind of way. They're verbally walking all over you. They're verbally abusing you. So whether it's physical or verbal abuse, mental weakness will be your worst enemy in those situations. So this is why it's important, I say again, that you find ways to strengthen yourself mentally. Talk to yourself that you won't allow somebody to talk to you any kind of way or to abuse you physically or mentally. Right? Let that be known. Now, before I go, we had a few people here on Instagram for the YouTube subscribers or YouTube watchers. We had a few people here on Instagram who wanted to join in. Let me see. Where's the other? Okay, Fisk. What's your name? Fisk or Fisknick was first. Do you still want to join in? I see M Hadir also wants to come in. So if you want to, I saw Fisk first, so let me allow him to come in, or him or her. Do you still want to come in? If so, send the request and I'll let you in. If not, then Hadir, if you want to do it, send it and I'll let you in. If you want to join in on this discussion. In the meantime, don't forget, both here on Instagram and on YouTube, don't forget to like the video. If you're not a subscriber or a follower, don't forget to subscribe and follow. And again, don't forget, if you appreciate these lessons that we give to you, whether it's the techniques or just talking about the philosophies and the ideology behind self-defense, then go on ahead and show your support by utilizing, the links in the description of the video. So, M. Hadid, do you want to join in or not? No? This? No? You guys? No? You change your mind? All right. If not, then we'll go ahead and end it right here. So, again, everybody, please keep in mind the importance of your mental martial arts, your mental self-defense. It's very important. It's very important because, again, it's the matter between victory and defeat. You can have the biggest army. You can have a black belt. You can have all these skills. But if your mind is not right, all of that will go out the window. Because when the time comes for you to act out on what you know or what skills you have, you won't be able to do it because you are fearful, because you are mentally weak. You will freeze up. You'll feel intimidated, scared, fright, and that person will walk all over you, abuse you, beat you, whatever, or talk to you any kind of way. So you have to learn to stand up for yourself. You have to be able to stand up. You have to be able to get into the proper frame of mind when the time comes. So that way you can then, in a state of mental strength, let that translate into your body and carry out and execute the techniques that you need to keep yourself safe. All right. So like I said, with nobody else to say anything, we'll go ahead and end it there. Appreciate you all for watching. See you on the next video. Take care.